the first part of the actual process is getting the information from whether it be the consumer, the attorney, the realtor, the banker, what have you. Getting that information, searching public records, pulling information from the counties, pulling data from the tax departments, the municipalities, creating a report. That report now gets sent out to all parties. And that has all the information that you need from our examiners, who are licensed professionals throughout the entire country. We're a national firm. So the process in the beginning is pretty much the same, by getting the report together, then providing that information to all the parties. Once the parties have the information, then things take their course. So in New York, where we're an attorney-driven state, if it's a purchase transaction, the title is reviewed by the Seller's Counsel. Mm-hmm. The Seller's Counsel now works with our clearance officers to work on anything that pops up on title. And what could pop up? An old mortgage, a judgment, environmental control board lien, somebody tax lien, federal tax lien, state tax lien. In Florida,
undisclosed heirs, things like that.
Undisclosed
too, right?
conveyance of title. Even in instances like Florida, for instance, where people do work on houses and put a mechanic's lien on the property on the day they get hired to ensure that they're going to get paid back.
So makes sense. They do that here.
Right. So we search all those records. Once we search the records, we work with the other professional individuals around us, whether it be the attorneys or the realtors or the consumer themselves, to clear up any of these happenings. Whether it be and sometimes there's no information. It makes it very. In the last 5 years, it's been a lot more difficult to clear title and to present marketable title.
Why is that?
Because a lot of the companies went out of business. So what happens if Victoria owns a title company and Victoria's title company goes out of business, and now I have to go back to her to see what she did to clear an old issue prior to her insuring the transaction, and she's out of business. Her files now went to the underwriter. So now we have to track down the underwriter. It's almost like a bank going out of business, and they sold their notes in a portfolio to another lender. It happens all the time, and now we have to track down those files. So the older the problems that exist, the more difficult it is for us to clear. And there's less people for us to contact in order to get that clearance done.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Sure.
This is a consumer-based show, so there's a lot of consumers that are listening to this, and they're wondering, do they have to do this? Do they have to have title insurance? Do they have to go down this road? Is it mandatory to
There is no law in the United States that says it is mandatory to order to buy title insurance
require it
on a purchase of all cash. Every lender in the country requires title insurance.
Okay, so go back. You said that it is not mandatory on an all-cash deal.
Correct.
But a lender will require it.
Correct.
Would you ever recommend that someone not get title insurance? And maybe that's more of a question for Scott.
The only time is in family. When you know your dad built a house.
I disagree.
Yeah, but what about the lands prior?
I disagree. Because what happens is, let's say it is a family member, and you did what's called a quick claim deed, taking someone off of title prior to conveying it. Now, any existence of liens or problems prior to them transferring title will still be open. Mm-hmm. They will have to sign affidavits throughout the whole transaction until they pass away. So I think title insurance is mandatory.
How far back does it go on that search?
We do a 40-year search on a purchase and a 10-year search, or a search back to the last insured transaction, fully insured transaction. So if you did do a quick claim deed, meaning you deeded somebody on or off the property, and it wasn't a market value policy, we then go back to the insured transaction. So you might have transferred title for a quick claim deed for not market value, for zero consideration as it's called, but 20 years before you is the last time we did what's called a bona fide purchase. We go back 20 years to search that file and those records until there was an actual
So your
market
recommendation is definitely always have title insurance, always
Absolutely.
take out that policy. And Scott, you're saying not necessarily.
I mean, for the reasons Glenn said, yes. If they did not do a quit claim deed, then you get away with it. I mean, if that's from family, you're not worried about they took a mortgage and reported. But that, for the cost,
percentages on a whole scale, the percentage of family transactions is very small.
Sure.
Hold that thought. If you're if you are listening to our show, we would like you to be a caller. If you would like to call in, give us a call at 914-693-5700. We'd love to have you join the conversation, or if you have any questions, we're here to answer those for you. We are going to break.